Hello everyone, this is Jerry, and there's been this rather ambitious project I've had in the back of my mind for a while now. I finally decided to start this YouTube video series about autism and employment. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The unemployment rate among autistic adults is disturbingly high. Very, very high. 58% of adults with autism in their 20s being employed at some point. Now, this compared to 74% of peers with intellectual disabilities, 95% with learning disabilities, 91% with speech impediments or emotional disturbances being employed at some time during their 20s. Now, as an adult with autism who has in fact been employed most of my adult life, I've gained a great deal of knowledge that I believe could help other adults on the autism spectrum, as well as to help employers and fellow employees understand the challenges that many on the autism spectrum go through. And I'm going to first start out by telling you a bit about yours truly here. As I grew up, hard work was a value that was strongly emphasized. We had a family business which was a local Italian restaurant. It was originally owned by my aunt, but later my dad. Though even after that, my aunt was still head chef. I, along with my parents and my brother, all at some point worked in that restaurant. Even as young as 6, I would help out. I folded napkins, bussed tables, cleaned windows, ran errands, and in some cases helped bake bread. Don't worry, folks, I went to school and all that, so school was first. But anyway, one thing I later learned is that working for family is very different from working for another employer, especially a major company. Your family knows you. They know your quirks, challenges, and know what you can and cannot handle. But to your average employer, you're either a number or a liability. I don't say this to scare any of you, but I feel it needs to be said, and I'll go into further detail in videos in this series. Despite that distinction, there were some advantages to this. I was able to learn and observe how to serve customers while having the security of being able to relax in the office, the back, or outside. Anytime I ended up getting sensory overload. Anytime things got to be too much. In addition to customers being much more understanding of children acting up than they would be if an adult did the same thing. Now, these were skills that would later help me a great deal in my adult working life, skills which I will indeed talk about. As I got older, I worked more and more in the restaurant. I never became a full-fledged waiter due to the fact that nobody could read my handwriting, and, well, still to this day nobody can. You can't put through an order that the cooks can't even read, but I still learned and carefully observed. Unfortunately, we later lost the family business of 20 plus years and sold it to one of our waiters, who then sold it to someone else, and so on and so forth. But interestingly enough, despite changing hands so many times, it apparently still goes by the same name to this day, though the food isn't nearly as good as it used to be. A few years later, I graduated from high school and got into a bit of a rut for a little while, where I just watched trash TV all day, and it wasn't exactly my proudest moment, but one that's important enough to mention. Now, this didn't last very long, thankfully. I eventually got a job through a local agency that provides services to the disabled. This job was extremely tedious, boring, and paid practically nothing. But it at least got me out of the house and gave me some spending money. It was scrubbing coffee pots at this company called Take a Break. Now, I don't remember if it was at the same time or after this job, but I also attended classes at my local community college, which I still to this day attend some classes there. It's, there's been some times where I've dropped out for a few years or so due to all sorts of factors, but those are for later videos to discuss. Now, I wasn't driving. I'm kind of working on that now, actually, but knew all the bus routes quite well and was able to take the bus to and from school, though I did get some rides to work at the time. I eventually moved out of the house I grew up and lived in for 21 years and got a job at a grocery store, which I'll be at for 8 years this coming September. Now at this point, I've been looking for a job for a while, but got this one after a tip-off that this store was hiring. Now I'd gotten help with my resume, but mostly pursued and got the job on my own. After I was hired, I went through orientation as well as food safety training and started out in the service deli. Due to the fact that I didn't have much confidence at the time, I was still learning my job and had difficulties dealing with customers. That position didn't work out very well. So after talking to my manager, I was transferred to a different department and made a general merchandise clerk, or GMC for short, who are responsible for stocking all non-food items, as well as stocking some non-perishable food items such as chips, crackers, cookies, soda, beer, and one perishable item being bread. I did so well at this particular job that I was promoted in less than a year to food clerk, which is a subsection of grocery clerk, which is a fairly broad category. I was also made a backup and later a third and secondary clerk. Unfortunately, I ended up getting numerous work-related knee injuries, and I was made a backup checker and most recently placed on late shifts against my will. Now I'll resolve those issues, I just don't know how yet, and we'll explain them in later videos. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be learning some of this stuff along with you. So there may be follow-up videos revisiting certain topics as I learn new information. With that said, I don't have any definitive order to these videos, as there's so much to talk about. But if you have something you want me to talk about, maybe in the next video, or at least at some point, feel free to drop a suggestion in the comments. With that said, this is Jerry, and I'll see you on the next video.